When I received the SKXmod kit for my Casioak, I was really excited. I was really excited about sort of improving, upgrading this watch. I took lots of time to make sure I read the instructions, I set up my room, I even filmed the whole experience. And then at the end, when it felt like it was done, I realized I'd made a few little minor mistakes. I ended up tinkering with it. I ended up getting a little bit frustrated. I lost my patience a little bit, and I ended up breaking it. And then I was sad. Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I am talking about watches. And yes, I did break this modification kit, but it was not the modification kit's fault. It was my fault. It was my fault for being impatient, rushing, not taking my time, and not being gentle enough. If I had taken my time, if I'd been a little bit more patient, I wouldn't be in the situation I am in now. I do want to thank SKXmod kits for sending me this mod kit because it is incredible. In fact, it's so much better than I expected. Now, because they did send me this kit, you would have ended up seeing that sponsored icon pop up there. I bought the Casio, they sent me the kit, I put together the kit, and then I broke the kit. But I'm going to leave a link down to their website below because it is definitely worth checking out, because if you are a little bit more patient than me, then you'll do this, you'll end up with an incredible watch and you won't break it. But after breaking this watch, I put it aside for a couple of days. I needed to think this through. I needed to think about whether I could fix this or make this work so I could actually wear this watch, because I really like it. The quality of this kit, the look of this watch is fantastic. And as you can see, I am wearing it now. I've been able to fix it. Well, sort of. What I had ended up doing was breaking off the screws in the case back inside the case. 3 of them had actually snapped off inside and they were small and I could not get them out. The 4th, I thought, okay, at least I've got one that could hold it on. No, apparently I threaded that one. So I really made a botched job of this whole entire thing at the end of this process. But there is a simple solution, a solution that I used. I just glued on that case back, and I understand that this is not the perfect solution here, but it was quick, easy, and it now allows me to wear this watch for the next couple of years until the battery runs out in the Casio. So at least now I get to enjoy it. It's going to be perfectly fine for me to wear. And now that I've got it put together and actually wearable, I actually want to quickly just share this watch with you because, as I've mentioned a few times now, there is something special about this kit. The quality is just outstanding. But it'd be quite interesting for you guys to see it in a bit more detail because it's not exactly a cheap kit. In fact, if you go onto the SKXmod website, you'll see a couple of different variations. There's a much more affordable version, and then there's this version. And you may think, well, that's a lot of money to spend on a kit. And that's why I want to show you this one in more details, because I think it's absolutely worth the money because you're upgrading this Casio to something exceptional. So let's flip the camera and let me show you this Casioak after it's been modified, after the back has been glued on, in a little bit more detail. This Casioak mod kit from SKXmod is incredible. And I want to explain 3 things about this watch, because if you're looking to modify one of your Casios with this mod kit, and you're looking to spend this amount of money, you really want to know a few things. Firstly, you want to know the quality. And the quality is beyond outstanding. Honestly, this bracelet especially, this is where I think you really notice the sort of special aspect of this, as well as other watches. When you sort of look at cases of watches, they can be quite nice and they can be fine. But when you actually feel the bracelets of certain watches, that's when you really notice that there is something special. And this, there is something special. In fact, the quality of the bracelet, the feel of the bracelet, the finishing of the bracelet feels to me like a $2,000 watch, maybe a $3,000 watch. That's the sort of feel I get from this watch. So from a quality perspective, I think it's definitely worth the money of this kit. It really is outstanding and lifts the quality of the overall Casio by so much, but just the watch, it's just, yeah, you really do notice it. But secondly, you're certainly going to want to know the dimensions as well. But because of this sort of style of this watch, those dimensions do sort of mean a little bit different. But let's talk about it as it stands. The case itself, the best that I can measure it sort of from side to side is 43.1. The width of the watch is exactly 11 millimeters. Now, lug to lug, because it's this style, it's a bit odd, but if you remove the bracelet and just looked at the sort of case itself, it's 51.7, but there's a lot of downturn, so keep that in mind. Lug width, again, because it's this style, it's a little bit sort of not applicable, but if you go from one side to the other, it's 27, but it then goes all the way down to 18 millimeters. And size to me, with lots of spare links available, size to my 17 centimeter wrist, it is 160 grams, which I think really gives you an idea of how sort of chunky this one is and how much it really does have that wrist presence, being a quartz watch. Of course, it also does have a sapphire crystal. I think there must be some AR coating in there as well, because it really does help sort of reflect the light there, even in these studio lights. Now, I'm not going to talk about the Casio watch itself because I've already talked about that, and that's not what I'm trying to show you today. Today, I want to show you the actual end kit. You can also see that that has been glued on, which is a bit of a disappointment to me, but again, that's my own fault. Now, there is another question that I think is going to be asked, and that is about the buttons, because obviously this watch has 4 buttons. There's 2 there as well, and 2 there. And initially I thought, well, that's a bit silly. You're going to have to unscrew this thing here, which then has a little sort of, let's have a look here. Oh, can I even hold it? It's quite small. There's a little sort of spike, which you then push on those, and how annoying would that be? And then I realized something. I realized that I never hit these 2 buttons. I don't use the stopwatch, timing, world time, any of those features at all. The only features that I use on any sort of digital watch or any non-mechanical watch really is what you see there, the date, and then the light button. That's all I use. So for me, it makes no difference. Yes, once a year perhaps I'm going to have to sort of update the sort of time because quartz movements still do lose or gain a little bit of time. But once a year, just using that to push on those buttons won't bother me at all. If, however, you are somebody that uses those features all the time, then that will be annoying to you. I'm sure it would, but I doubt that many people actually use those features that often. Let's look at the brushing and the polishing on this because it has a great sort of mixture of the two. Brushed on the top of that bezel, those screws are not real screws, they're set in there so they all face the correct way. Then there's a little bit of polishing. Then there's a little line of brushing as well, back down to brushing on the tops of that case. A high polished chamfer edge running down both sides of the case along the top edge there, brushing across the sides, and the brushing is very nice. Let me try and capture it in the light there. Yeah, very, very nicely done. Onto the bracelet, we've got a mixture of surfaces as well, mostly brushed with a high polished chamfer on the edge there. And as you sort of bend the sort of the strap as well, you'll see there is some chamfered edges along the bracelet as well, which gives it that nice sort of wrist roll and that sort of light play too. And just check out the brushing of that bracelet itself. You can see it's really nice. We got a butterfly deployant clasp there. Probably one of the better ones that I've come across. It is you put down one first and then the other because it has that top piece, so it's one at a time, but that's perfectly fine. And I've been able to get a good size to my wrist for this one as well, and there's plenty of links available to you. The case back would be fantastic if I had not ruined it. It has Casioak SKXmod there, nice and solid stainless steel. Now, it also comes with this very, very nice quality rubber strap, and it really is. Now, I'm not a really big rubber strap guy, but this one, it is particularly good. Now, I'm not going to put it onto the watch, partly because I'm not a rubber strap guy, plus I'm also scared of playing with this one anymore because I've already broken it, so I'm just going to leave it as it is. But it has one of these interesting clasps, which it's almost flicks in, flicks out, flips back on again. And this kit also came with a standard sort of hardware as well, so you could go back and forth. And if you are concerned about the price of this one and you are only interested in the rubber strap, well, you can get it without the bracelet, so that does bring the price down. And if you are a rubber strap guy, I think this one is going to be good, and it will certainly look good on the watch too. So I think it would be okay, but as I mentioned, not a rubber strap guy, and I'm not going to play around with this one anymore and potentially break it. Now, I don't have a huge wrist. My wrist size is about 17 centimeters or about 6 3/4, and I think that is probably going to be the minimum you're going to want for this watch. There is lots of downturn here, but it is a big watch and this sort of style. So if you've got smaller wrists than me, I probably wouldn't recommend it. I think it actually fits me like perfectly, but I think a 7 centimeter wrist would probably be the absolutely perfect size. And of course, you'd get away with more than that. I think also you probably might be able to get away with slightly smaller if you use the rubber strap. But look at this wrist roll. Look at how it shines and reflects with the light. It's very, very pretty. It's almost a shame that I can't use this bracelet on other watches because of the style, because it's very, very cool. I do want to say thanks again to SKXmod for supplying this kit to me. I do want to say sorry, SKXmod, for breaking your mod kit, but I have now at least been able to put it into a perspective, or at least been able to put it into a working fashion so that I can enjoy it for the next couple of years until the battery dies. As always, thank you so much, guys. If you didn't end up watching how I put this watch together and how I end up damaging it, maybe you should watch that video next.